And now let our story begin. Hello, I'm Chris Hardman, and I'm the founder and artistic director of Antenna Theater, and I'm also your guide through this interactive installation called Making Waves. So, Making Waves. To start with, I would like to tell you about the discovery of Walkmanology. So now, if you'll step up the first set of stairs there, the 4 or 5 stairs in front of you, you'll see a small seat in the corner of the first landing. So go ahead and sit down if you can, if it's not too crowded, and I will tell you about Walkmanology. It was 1980, and I had just created Antenna Theater, and we had produced our first show called Vacuum. And the show was a big success. And among other things, it was invited to go to Europe.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, I've always found airplanes to be completely claustrophobic. You know, there's always a kid crying in the back, and you've forgotten your book you intended to read, so you realize that you're stuck there for hours with nothing productive to do. So when this newfangled, bizarre device came out on the market called the Walkman, I decided to get one. So just as the airplane was about to lift off. Now, if you stand up and start walking up the stairs, that's right, walking up the long set of stairs there, and when you get to the top of the stairs, stop and wait. So as the airplane was taking off, I turned on the Walkman, and as the airplane lifted off into the sky, the Ride of the Valkyries started to play. Suddenly I realized that there was this amazing theatrical thing happening here, and it was called synchronicity. The visual and the audio were working in sync. And thus was born Walkmanology, the study of the use of Walkmans in a theatrical environment. But more about that later. You should now be standing at the top of the stairs. Now what I'd like you to do is look to your left and walk through the door that says antenna on it, and then stand in front of the antenna in the center of the room. I founded Antenna in 1980 as an experimental theater company, and the reason I chose the name Antenna was that I was interested in not only creating theater, but in finding a way to have an active collaboration with the audience that came to the show, thus Antenna, which I took to mean to receive, like an antenna does, to receive input, to transform it, and then to transmit it back. Antenna, to receive, transform, transmit. So I decided to record people in the general community about the subject of my next play, and then incorporate their voices into the show. Now step over to the closet next to the door you came in. This is the Vacuum closet. Vacuum was the first show Antenna Theater produced, and for Vacuum we interviewed a multitude of vacuum cleaner salesmen and housewives, and then cut their voices into the tape that we used for the performance. They became co-collaborators, co-conspirators.
Knocked the door, said, "Hey, Ray Butterwich here from the Kirby Company. I want to show you the Kirby." The guy says, "Hey, I got no appointment right now." I says, "Hey, I'm here. You remember you called in for an appointment?" He says, "No, hey, I haven't got time." So I took down my kit and I started demonstrating. I polished the floor and I cleaned the carpets and I was doing the drapes. He says, "Gee, that's great." He says, "I never seen a product like that before." I says, "Yeah, well, listen, how many do you want? Do you want the 10 right now?" He says, "No." He says, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take 12 of those Kirbys." Holy mackerel, I was so excited I ran down.
So if you just turn around and walk toward the fireplace on the other side of the room, you can see in the center of the altar one of Antenna's very first Walkman.
I am Walkman. You will be my servant.
Walkmans were considered the essence of all technological evil. it was like the
Dance
final
by
straw.
Bluetooth.
People saw people wearing Walkmans and they said, oh my God, we'll never talk to our kids again.
They will walk like
This is
zombies.
entire isolation.
unhearing
Nobody will ever come up for
cries
air.
of their
We'll have no
fellow.
dinner time conversation. Our kids will
Teach
never hear
them
us
to
again.
worship me.
They'll be plugged into these Walkmans and it's all over.
Walkman.
It's total alienation.
I am Walkman.
And here we were using the most evil technology to create the most isolated theatrical experience ever conceived. And just to the right of our Walkmanology altar, we have a photograph of myself recording John Sims. Now, after returning from Vacuum's tour of Europe, Antenna was invited to produce a play for the Bay Area Playwrights Festival, which was at the Tamalpais High School campus. So when the playwrights came to Antenna and said, where would you like to perform your new piece for the festival? So I said, we'll use the entire school. And thus, we created High School, the world's first Walkman production. And the first thing we did was draw a line that went all the way through the school. And we asked the audience to put on the newfangled Walkman and very simply walk along the chalk line. Now, if you walk across the room on the opposite wall, you'll see a picture of Mr. Sims wearing his Walkman. And as you were walking through the high school, you were hearing
Graduation. Graduation is really beautiful, you know? It's like you wait 4 years to graduate and it doesn't even seem that great because you're so fucked up you don't even know what you're doing. But you know what? Your mom does. Your mom is perfectly straight and she's out there, man, and she's got her fucking Minolta and her Nichromat. She's got all these lenses and fucking dad's all nervous and everything, you know? And it's a great moment. The energy and tension that's in there.
If you sit down in one of these chairs, you can see John's diploma.
Okay, so like you can see it, right? Mom and dad, and they're out there, and the whole place is full of mom and dads, man. Fucking everybody's got their moms and dads, and some of them got their uncles and aunts and shit from New York and fucking weird places like that, you know? And the kids got all this free money from graduating and stuff. And man, I tell you, after you graduate, right? After they give you that diploma, everybody graduates, they sing a little song or something that's okay, file out. Man, there's a big fucking sea of people down there and they're all fucking getting fucked up. Champagne, you can't find anybody, man. You get so lost. It's like, it's incredible. Being in the sea of people right after graduation. Party.
So that was the birth of Walkmanology, and Walkmanology led us to a discovery. The discovery of what I call an audient, a singular audience, an audient. The most interesting thing that an audient can do, that an audience can't, is to participate in the drama. And the next show we did was called Artery, and we used this principle of the audient to its nth degree. And if you just walk up those stairs, those 3 stairs in the corner of the gallery here, and through the door, you will now enter a scene from our show, Artery. You are now an audient, and in Artery, the audient is a thief.
The treasure is in there. Reach in your hand and lift out the diamonds. Good.
You're holding the diamonds in your hand. You stand up. You're about to step out the door to your right. Now you can go to Europe. Okay, if you would leave the jewelry where you got it and step through into the next room and then look in the mirror. One of the most interesting and exciting things Artery brought up about the audient was its kind of evil, subversive potential. What exactly are you? Are you the actor acting out the part? Are you the observer observing the actor acting out the part? And that's one of the major themes of Antenna's work, that you are you because you're not someone else. You are you because you are not someone else. Not someone else. Someone else. And one of the best examples of that classic theme is from the opening of Etiquette of the Undercast. The beginning of it is that you die and go to heaven, and you see the earth. And if you'll just step out the door, you'll see the earth hovering above you.
Do you see the world?
Do you see the world?
Wheel spins.
Which crib? Which crib will you be
Wer
born
kein Bargeld
into?
hat, braucht nur seine Kreditkarte zu zeigen. Die wird vom Haus gern
Hi,
angenommen.
baby.
Hi,
Und wer
baby.
keine Kreditkarte hat, kann
Which
an-
crib?
Hi, baby.
Which crib?
Have I fallen into?
Hi, baby.
Which crib will you fall into?
I'm gonna be born again.
Now step into the next room to the left, the one with the row of masks. Amnesia. These masks are from amnesia. Masks can instantly transform you into someone else. You could be this dark-haired woman, or you could have been Fred, or Nick, the smoking photographer, or maybe this nurse. So let's fit into someone else's
Answer
shoes.
these questions, please.
First, go sit on the chair in the center of the room. So please sit back and close your eyes. You are now a prisoner on Alcatraz solitary confinement.
If you would close your eyes like right now, close your eyes and seal it off, seal your eyes off with your hand. With a little concentration, you can see a light, and you can see a light. And pretty soon that light will get brighter. And you got to concentrate on this. And after a while, not a short while, this takes time and practice, but pretty soon you can almost put your own TV there, and you can visualize, you can see things, and you can go on trips, and this is what I did.
Well, when I'd go in the hole, what I used to do was I'd tear a button off my coveralls. I'd flip it up in the air. Then I'd turn around in circles. Then I'd get down on my hands and knees and I'd hunt for that button. Then when I found the button, I'd stand up and I'd do it again.
Now walk over to the curved desk and have a seat. The people on the videos that you see are fellow audience members performing in our show Radio Interference. Jerry's newscast was one of the events in that show. You are now sitting in Jerry the newscaster's seat. You can perform his role if you'd like. Just do what the director tells you to and repeat out loud everything Jerry says as he, you, gives his last newscast.
Segment 4 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rolling. Segment 4 commentary. Okay, Jerry, last segment, and you're out of here. And read the cue cards as you hear the text. Here we go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jerry Smith with tonight's commentary. I had this nightmare that there was this town without TVs. And when I went there, I was invisible. Invisible. I've always been the big face in everybody's house. But then I wasn't there at all. Even where I wasn't.
And now with commentary, it's Jerry.
And all these people were talking, but not to me. And I said, hey, wait a minute. There are 10 scriptwriters, 10 news analysts, and 10 joke writers that say I'm greater than you'll ever get. What gives?
And now, with a commentator's perspective, it's Jerry.
7 years to the day I've watched you watch me, and I've seen you see me. You know me more than I know me. 7 years if it's been a day I've read words popped up on prompters, pushed them out of my mouth and into your ears. And I'm wondering, why do you listen to me? Why do I listen to me? Do I look like I care? Do I look like I read books? I say things that I don't even know what I'm saying.
Giving a perspective on the news, it's Jerry.
I am the news. And I can't report on myself.
Announcing opinions, it's Jerry.
I can make up my face, but I can't make up my mind.
With a view on the news, it's Jerry Smith.
Okay, pick up the gun on the table in front of you, hold it up and say, "This is really real."
I'll tell you, I could shoot a hole right through my head and still be here tomorrow.
Okay, point the gun barrel at your head.
I could send a bullet ear to ear and still finish this podcast.
No, keep it rolling. This is new.
Now stand up and walk over to the mirror, and you can act out another role.
If you're in Marin County, you're a hitchhiking hoe. So it's obvious what you're doing. But you're hitchhiking, and of course you're going to have, in Marin, you're going to have the Jaguars and BMWs and some Mercedes and a lot of that. And you know you're going to get some money and some freaks. You're there to fulfill their fantasy. That's all. It's like acting. So you're there to fulfill their fantasy. A man could just want you to put him on a leash and be naked and take him up and down the hall while he barks, and he could get off, and that's his fantasy. Seriously. $100, what? Pfft, whatever, right? So that's 15 minutes, half an hour, and okay, you got that money just for dragging this freak like a dog. That's his trip, you know? What's up? Okay, that's Marin County, that's everywhere.
Now stop in front of the doorway, just to the right of this mirror.
Now, what is all this?
Is this theater? Is it exhibitors? Is it art?
Virtual experimental political theater?
Is it this? Is it that? Now step into the red room. Different people see the same thing in different ways. The most recent show we did was called On Sight in Sausalito, and it was about how we see, how the act of seeing affects what is being seen. And a great example of this is the Necker cube. The Necker cube, which is that drawing on the wall there.
Yeah, the Necker cube is interesting. A stick figure of a cube in 3D at a slight angle. You look at the cube, and after a while, you'll see the cube and flip in perspective, so that now one face of the cube seems to be pointing out towards you from the page, and then when it flips, another face seems to be pointing out, and it seems to change its orientation on the page. It's a cube facing one way, and then it's a cube facing another way. Now, when that cube flips in perspective, you are seeing the state of your brain change.
All these masks have dual images. The rotating mask to the right is a mask from our show Appearance of Civilization. You can see that it's either an aristocratic Spaniard or a skull. Dual images. Another mask that uses the same method is on the very far left. You see the big mean guy, but if you look in the mirror, you see the face reversed. Dual image. The mask to its right can be seen as a pretty woman when you look down at her. But if you kneel down and look up, she too turns into a death's head image. Dual images. The mask to the right is a simple trick. Pull the lever. See? Dual images. One mask covers the actor's face, and the other is on the top of the head. When the actor lowers his head, he turns from one character into the other. Dual images. Now, if you'll go and look in that closet. Now, I want to take you back to the earlier beginnings of this theatrical adventure. Another great example of how different people can look at the same thing and see it in a totally different way has got to be the Sausalito waterfront, where I've lived for the last 15 years. And if you look up into the closet there, you see this guy with the handlebar mustache? That's Varda. Varda was an artist and also a bon vivant. He used to have these fantastic parties. Everybody would come, and he was like Zorba. He was the life force. He made these beautiful paintings, which were paintings of the waterfront as a celestial kingdom, which is essentially how he saw it. And that's what the waterfront was for me when I got there. It was magic. It was World War II junk transformed into funk. Now the guy down there underneath him, that floating head there, that's Alan Watts. He also lived with Varda on a ferry boat, and Alan had one side of the boat and Varda had the other, and a sort of yin and yang kind of scene. And Alan Watts was the philosopher king of the East. He brought Zen Buddhism to the Western world. Now, if you'll just step out of this room through the door to the left of this closet here and go down the stairs and then turn to your left into the next room, walk to the panel in the center. Unfortunately, when I moved to the Sausalito waterfront, Varda had already died, and so had Alan Watts. And the war had started. And the war was between the community that had grown up on the waterfront and the developers. Who saw the floating kingdom as so much real estate. It was a real war. People, as you can see in this picture, police had orders to crush people's boats at gunpoint. People were being arrested left and right, beaten. Riot cops were called in from all over the Bay Area. And there was theater. Now, if you'll turn around and look at the opposite wall, at the picture of these sad-eyed women and children and men standing there made out of cardboard. The developers were going to bulldoze a ditch and make it into an asphalt parking lot. The waterfront stood in their way, and of course the riot squad came in and started arresting everybody, and then the weekend came. So a group of us artistically inclined waterfronters, what we did, we got a bunch of cardboard, painted all day, all night, and then Monday morning, very early, we set up 50 or so of these cardboard people. And so by dawn's early light, when the bulldozer was going to come once again, and the riot squads were going to return, and everyone was going to link arms and get arrested again, suddenly, instead, there was this cardboard front. And the bulldozers stopped. And the developers didn't know what to do. And the press came out and shot photographs of it, and it went into all the papers, and it was on the news, and the developers were scratching their heads saying, well, if we run it over, will this be worse PR? When do we do this? How should we take them down, et cetera, et cetera? And they went away. And the cardboard front stood there for 2 weeks. And then one day the bulldozers came. So that's how we started using theater to change people's perceptions. If you turn around once again, you see here in the center of the room we have this rather large, ratinous fellow, and he's called Fat Rat. Fat Rat. He played the part of the evil one in a couple of our plays that we did, particularly The Perils of Carmelita, and also in many of the protest marches and parades around the waterfront issue that we were constantly staging. Now walk to your left to the fireplace. Theater was a big part of our defense strategy, such as it was, but it became clear that we needed to engage in another form of theater, namely politics. So I decided that I should run for the City Council of Sausalito. And although it was a serious campaign, it was difficult for us to avoid interjecting a certain amount of theatrical behavior. And one of the first hints in the campaign was the motto, "A hard man is good to find." You can see the button right there. And then the other theatrical stunt we decided to pull was to promise that expert politician Chris Hardman would shake every hand and kiss every baby in town all in one day. This was going to be the big political act of the candidacy. No other candidate could or would dare to make such a bold campaign promise. So what I did was I built 50 masks of myself, and you can see right here one of the masks. And I got 50 of my supporters to put on suits and these masks, and we went down to the ferry landing and met at the ferry as it came in and shook everybody's hand and kissed every baby, and then we spread out throughout the town, and that was Hardman Handshake Day. But needless to say, I didn't win. But actually, I came dangerously close.
You can ultimately protect.
Now, if you'll continue to walk to your right, you'll see a large mask of a woman with wind-blown hair. Out of the Waterfront Art Squad war effort, 4 of us got together and formed a theater called Snake. One of the first shows we did was Somewhere in the Pacific, and it took place on the beach at sunset. In essence, it was a love letter sent by a sailor who had just sailed away to the war, a letter he sent back to his girlfriend Carol with the wind-blown hair, and the love letter was hidden in the sand. Sailors unearthed the letter as they danced, and then many of the characters that were talked about in the letter also appeared and danced along the beach. And here's a picture of that, you can see. Somewhere in the Pacific, we called that site-specific work. It was a show that came out of the environment that it was in, and we decided to do a series of site-specific shows. The second one we did was about bureaucracy. It was called Her Building, and we performed it in front of the Sausalito City Hall. And the third one we did was called Auto, and that was performed at the old Mohawk gas station in Sausalito. And it was about automobiles, about automatic, about how cars run us instead of us running cars. And then Snake did 2 other shows, 24th Hour Cafe, and you can see the waitress here, the mask of the waitress. And that was about a waitress waiting to escape her life in a roadside cafe. And after that we did another show, Ride Hard, Die Fast, which was about Hell's Angels and chivalry. Larry Graeber, who was Snake's composer, it turned out that he had leukemia, and he died when he was 29 years old. And that was quite a shock to everybody. And in essence, that ended the collaboration of Snake. So once Snake dissolved, I was rooting around for something else to do. So I thought, and I thought, and I came up with the theoretical idea